Story 1. Whispers behind closed doors. The wind howled outside as Evelyn sat on the edge of her bed, the glow of her phone screen illuminating the storm brewing inside her. The message from Lucas still lingered on her screen, the words burning into her mind like a brand. Mom called. She asked if I needed help getting away from you. Evelyn's breath caught in her throat. It wasn't a surprise, not really. But to hear it spoken aloud, to have it confirmed like this, sent a chill through her bones. She and Lucas had been together for over a decade. They had built a life together, fought through hardships and weathered storms. But no matter how much love they shared, it had never been enough for his family. The Winstons were an old money, deeply traditional family, steeped in expectations and obligations. For years, Evelyn had tried to fit into their world, to mold herself into the perfect daughter-in-law. But 5 years ago she had made a choice, one that sent ripples through their seemingly pristine family dynamic. She had stepped away from the strict faith that bound the Winstons together, choosing her own path, her own beliefs. It had been the beginning of the end. It started small, side comments from Lucas's mother, Vivian, and father, Gerald. Questions disguised as concern. An ever-present tension at every holiday gathering. A coldness in their eyes when they thought she wasn't looking. Then, when she and Lucas decided to spend their holidays alone for the first time, the facade cracked completely. Lucas had simply sent a polite message. Asterisk, we won't be coming for Thanksgiving this year. We want to start our own traditions. Asterisk. Within minutes his phone rang. It was Vivian, sobbing, her voice shaking. But it wasn't grief, it was manipulation. Why would you do this to us? She wailed. Is it Evelyn? Is she making you stay away? Do you need help getting out? She hadn't used the word divorce, but the implication was clear. Lucas had shut it down immediately, but the damage was done. When he told Evelyn, she felt something inside her snap. She had suspected their true feelings for years, but now there was no more room for doubt. She wasn't one of them. And she never would be. Still, she had given them one last chance. For Lucas. She had attended one final family reunion, hoping for some sign that things could be salvaged. It was a mistake. Vivian had been watching her like a hawk all weekend, waiting for a moment when Lucas wasn't at her side. And when that moment finally came, Evelyn found herself cornered in the massive walk-in pantry of the Winston estate. Vivian's fingers dug into her wrist, her voice a sharp whisper. You're ruining my son's life. You think we don't see you for what you are? A mistake. Evelyn ripped her arm away, the rage in her chest bubbling up like a volcano about to erupt. But she held herself together. She wouldn't give Vivian the satisfaction of seeing her break. That was the last straw. After that, she refused any contact. She ignored the passive-aggressive texts, the guilt-laced messages. Lucas had tried to bridge the gap, had even confronted his parents, listing out every transgression, every cruel remark, every moment that had driven Evelyn away. Their response? A shallow apology wrapped in deflection. Sounds like we did something that hurt your feelings. If we did, we're sorry. Evelyn had laid it out plainly, explaining exactly why their actions had been hurtful, why trust had been shattered. Gerald's response had been a wall of text filled with justifications, ending with a chilling admission. The conversation about leaving you was between a mother and her son. You shouldn't have known about it. That was all Evelyn needed to hear. They weren't sorry. They had never been sorry. And they never would be. Lucas stood by her, but she saw the pain in his eyes. He wanted to mend the rift, to bring peace to both halves of his life. But Evelyn knew there was no peace to be had. She had spent years doubting herself, wondering if she was overreacting, questioning her own reality. But now the fog had lifted. This wasn't love. This was control. And she would never let them have that power over her again. Story 2. The perfect family's secret. The Grand Winston estate had always stood as a symbol of prestige and perfection. Behind its ivy-covered walls, the Winstons cultivated an image of success, beauty, and refinement. At the heart of this narrative was Celeste Winston, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. And then there was me. I, Evelyn Winston, had learned long ago that I was the family's shadow, existing in the periphery of their adoration for my sister. Where Celeste shone, I was merely present. Every family dinner, every gathering, and every whispered conversation revolved around her. My parents, Regina and Charles, ensured that their beloved Celeste remained the crown jewel of our family. For years I had tried. I followed their script, excelled academically, even dabbled in Celeste's world of social elegance. But I was never her. Celeste was a goddess in their eyes, ethereal, ambitious, the embodiment of their aspirations. I was just Evelyn. When I met Nathan, everything changed. He saw me, not the afterthought, not the lesser daughter, but me. Our love was simple, free from the weight of expectations that had always burdened me. When he proposed, I was ecstatic. I thought, foolishly, that my family would share in my happiness. I was wrong. The silence was deafening when I announced my engagement. My mother, usually the queen of elaborate reactions, simply blinked. My father's face was unreadable. And Celeste was nowhere to be found. Later that evening, I overheard their hushed conversation on the patio. "This wasn't supposed to happen," my mother whispered, her voice tight with frustration. "She was supposed to wait," my father added, exhaling sharply. "Celeste was supposed to be first." First. The word rang in my ears. It was never about my happiness. It was about maintaining the illusion that our family was perfect, that Celeste was perfect. My engagement disrupted their carefully constructed image. I moved forward with the wedding, hoping they would come around. I sent invitations, both electronic and traditional. They read the emails. The receipts told me so. But their responses were vague, evasive. My mother feigned busyness. My father barely acknowledged my calls. Celeste didn't even bother with an excuse. When the wedding day arrived, I still held on to the sliver of hope that they would appear at the last moment, that my father would walk me down the aisle, that my mother would cry tears of joy. But their seats remained empty. Nathan squeezed my hand at the altar, his eyes promising me that I was enough. And yet, the void in my chest ached. Despite the love surrounding me, Nathan's family, my friends, I couldn't ignore the sting of abandonment. Days later, I saw a post on social media. Celeste, standing beside my parents, their arms wrapped around her, celebrating a lavish gala on the very night of my wedding. The caption read, "Family first. Always." I had spent my life trying to belong, trying to prove that I was worthy of their love. But now I saw the truth. I was never part of their perfect family. And I never would be. Story 3. A web of lies, love, and betrayal. I thought I had built a life with the man of my dreams. For 4 years we had a love story that, to the outside world, seemed perfect. When he first told me he had cancer, my heart shattered for him. He explained that if the operation didn't go well, it could be terminal. The treatments, he said, had also left him infertile. It was a cruel twist of fate, but we clung to hope together. So, imagine our shock and joy when I found out I was pregnant at the start of 2024. A miracle. A gift. That's what we called our daughter. She was proof that love could conquer anything, even the impossible. But our love was built on a lie. The perfect facade. My pregnancy was one of the loneliest times of my life. He was constantly undergoing intense treatments, trying to shrink his tumor before the surgery. I understood. I supported him. I did almost everything on my own, comforting myself with the belief that this struggle would lead to a happy, healthy life for us as a family. He moved in with his mother during recovery, an arrangement I encouraged. It was best for his healing. Still, he made time for us, for our daughter. Wednesdays were his daddy-daughter days, a special time for bonding while I got a much-needed break. It was our new normal. Then last week, everything came crashing down. A break-in, a slip of the tongue, a cracked illusion. It started with a break-in attempt. I was terrified, alone in the house with our 5-month-old daughter. Naturally, I called him, begging him to come over until the locks could be changed. He hesitated, made excuses, told me he couldn't leave his mom's house just yet. Something about his tone made my stomach twist. Then his mother slipped up. In a passing conversation, she mentioned he wasn't even home. I confronted him. For 24 hours, we fought in circles. He insisted he was where he said he was, but my gut told me otherwise. And then, when I couldn't take it anymore, I did what I should have done long ago. I searched for answers myself. In less than an hour, I found 2 women. The truth begins to unravel. During my pregnancy, I had nagging suspicions about things that didn't add up. But I chalked it up to hormones, paranoia, stress. He made me believe I was crazy whenever I questioned something. But I wasn't crazy. When the puzzle pieces fell into place, I knew I had been manipulated from the beginning. My paranoia hadn't been paranoia at all, it was survival instinct. I asked his mother, point blank, about his illness. That's when I learned the horrifying truth. He never had cancer. What he did have was an autoimmune disease, one that required transfusions. Serious? Yes. Terminal? Not even close. And as for his operation? He had been in rehab. Not for medical treatment, but for a cocaine addiction. The moment his mother told me, I felt the floor drop from beneath me. My entire relationship, our life together, had been built on a lie. And I wasn't the only woman he had deceived. The betrayal runs deeper. I sent him a message, cold and final. Tell your girlfriend I said hi. And don't bother coming back, I changed the locks. He panicked, called me repeatedly, begged me to let him explain. But for the first time I saw clearly. There was nothing left to explain. He had spent years weaving a tangled web of deception, and I had been the perfect fool, playing the devoted, trusting partner. Realizing he couldn't get through to me, he ran to his other woman instead. But I wasn't finished. I found a photo of them together and shared it publicly. A simple caption. Can someone ask this woman to contact me? She blocked me almost instantly. But her sister didn't. A trail of lies, a lifetime of consequences. Her sister confirmed everything. Their family had never trusted him. They always suspected something was off. And the biggest bombshell? He had told them that I was some deranged stalker from years ago, obsessed with him, trying to trap him with a fake baby. Fake baby. I sent her a picture of the birth certificate, of him holding our daughter in the hospital. The sister was horrified, furious. But she wasn't the only one. As I continued digging, another woman reached out to me. She too had been deceived, lied to, used. I had spent years loving a man who never really existed. The final curtain falls. He still tries to call, to text, to beg for another chance. But all I see now is a stranger. The man I loved died the moment I realized he never existed. And in his place stands a liar, a manipulator, a master of deception. I mourned the relationship. But not anymore. Because now I'm free. Story 4. Shadows of Betrayal. I never saw it coming. The destruction of my brother's engagement, the twisted confessions, and the accusation that I was the one responsible for his heartbreak. But the truth? The truth was far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. My name is Ethan, and my brother, Daniel, has always been my closest companion. We grew up together, sharing everything, dreams, struggles, and even the same college experience. When Daniel met Olivia, his fiancée, I thought he had found his forever person. She was charming, beautiful, and seemed like the perfect fit for my brother's ambitious world. But beneath her polished exterior lurked something darker, something that would shatter everything. At first, Olivia and I got along well. She was warm, friendly, and always eager to be around our family. I welcomed her as my future sister-in-law. But then things started to feel off. Whenever Daniel wasn't around, Olivia was different. She would find reasons to brush against me, hold my gaze a little too long, or laugh just a bit too much at my jokes. I chalked it up to her being friendly, until my girlfriend started noticing it too. When I introduced my girlfriend Laura to the family, she was instantly uneasy. Afterward, she confessed that Olivia made her uncomfortable, constantly inserting herself between us in conversations and finding ways to undermine Laura subtly. I dismissed it as paranoia, just another case of an insecure girlfriend misreading a situation. But then Laura broke up with me and I found out why. She told me Olivia had been feeding her lies. Olivia had claimed that I was still in love with an ex, that I talked about her behind Laura's back, that I wasn't serious about the relationship. Laura believed her, and just like that, it was over. Still, I refused to see the pattern. It wasn't until my next relationship ended in a strikingly similar way that I began to question Olivia's motives. My girlfriend at the time, Rachel, was devastated when she left me. She told me Olivia had gone out of her way to make her feel unwanted, excluded from family events, and even implied that I had spoken negatively about her to Daniel. It was as if Olivia wanted me to remain single. Why, I didn't know. The breaking point came on my birthday. Olivia handed me an expensive gold chain with a small pendant. Engraved on it was the letter O. I froze. Olivia, this is a special gift, she interrupted, smiling. Something personal. It was wildly inappropriate. A necklace with her initial on it? Daniel's fiancée? I laughed awkwardly and thanked her, unsure what to do. Later that night, I shoved it in my drawer, hoping to forget about it. But Olivia didn't forget. She became more blatant, texting me late at night, asking me to meet her for coffee without Daniel, finding excuses to call me. Made my skin crawl. I kept my distance, but the tension was growing. Then came the confession. It happened one evening when Daniel was away on a business trip. Olivia showed up at my apartment, claiming she needed to talk. Her eyes were red, like she had been crying. I can't do this anymore, she whispered. I love you, Ethan. The room spun. My brother's fiancée had just told me she loved me. Olivia, no. This isn't. Don't pretend you don't feel it too, she cried. I've loved you for years. I wanted to tell you before, but... Stop. My voice was sharp, cutting through her words. I don't love you. I never have. And what you're doing is cruel. Her face twisted in pain, then in fury. "You're rejecting me?" I grabbed my phone. "You need to leave, Olivia. Now." That was when she changed tactics. She turned on the tears, begging me not to tell Daniel, saying she had been confused, that she would make things right. But I had heard enough. I knew I had to tell my brother no matter how much it would hurt him. When I finally confessed everything to Daniel, he was devastated. He confronted Olivia, and she didn't even deny it. She just tried to spin it as if I had somehow led her on. But Daniel knew me too well to believe it. The engagement was off, the wedding cancelled, and Olivia was out of our lives for good. Or so I thought. A week later, Daniel showed up at my apartment, furious. "This is your fault," he seethed. "You should have handled it differently. You should have stopped her before it got this far." "What?" I was stunned. "Daniel, she confessed to me. What was I supposed to do? Lie? She was everything to me," he snapped. "And now she's gone." Then he said something I will never forget. "You owe me, Ethan. $50,000. That's what I spent on her, on our wedding, on everything. And you destroyed it." I stared at him, speechless. He was serious. He truly believed I had cost him his relationship and that I needed to pay him back for it. I refused. Daniel stormed out, and our relationship has never been the same. To this day, I wonder if he truly believes I was to blame, or if it's just easier for him to hate me than to admit he was engaged to someone who never loved him in the first place. But one thing is certain. Olivia may be gone, but the damage she left behind still lingers in the shadows. Each of these stories reveals a painful truth about toxic family dynamics, deceitful relationships, and the weight of favoritism and betrayal. Whether it's being overlooked for a perfect sibling, being manipulated by a lying partner, or dealing with a family member's twisted obsession, the common thread is emotional neglect and manipulation. These situations teach us that self-worth should never be tied to the validation of others, especially those who refuse to see our value. Sometimes, walking away from toxic people, no matter how close they are, is the only way to truly find happiness. Have you ever faced something similar? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if this resonates with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.